Alright, so today I want to show you some of my oldest ball pythons. I have some that, believe it or not, they're actually 10 years old, which is kind of crazy. And I want to start with some of my oldest ones and then kind of go through, I think I have a couple that are 8 years old, and then Bobby here around my neck. Bobby's my bamboo ball python. He is a 7-year-old male, pretty awesome snake, pretty big for a male for 7 years old. And Bobby, when I got him about 1,000 grams over on Morphmarket, maybe about 1,200 grams. And when I first got him, he was eating like crazy. He'd eat almost everything that I put in front of him. And now that he's getting a little bit older, got some age on him, 7 years, that he's getting a little bit pickier. As a matter of fact, he was kind of down to only eating about once a month. And then just recently, he kind of all of a sudden just kind of took off and started eating once a week again. And let me tell you, with a big snake like this eating once a week, you can definitely tell that Bobby here is gaining some weight. Pretty amazing. And they say ball pythons can live for 30 to 35 years, although I'm not sure exactly how long a ball python can live, because if you think about 30 years ago, the ball python industry was pretty much in its infancy. It was pretty much before the whole craze in ball pythons, and there was really no morph. So I think the first morph available was the albino, and I don't think it was 30 years ago. It's less than that. So you kind of think about where we are in the whole history of ball pythons. We're at the very beginning, just looking at some of the initial stuff. We don't even know really how truly long ball pythons can actually live. But let me tell you, Bobby here, hopefully he will outlive me. He's a really awesome snake. So let's jump over and check out some of my oldest ball pythons. Alright, so take a look at this girl. This girl's name is Eternity, and she is like crawling underneath the table. She's kind of getting away. This is one of my oldest snakes. This is an albino. She's had 2 years off. She's been really super picky. She's still coming in at 2,700 grams. Just went back on food recently, so I'm thinking of breeding this girl. Look at how big she is. Pretty good looking size albino. I actually bred my albino pie to this girl 1 year and got a whole bunch of albinos, 100% het pies, which is pretty awesome. And kind of the cool thing about this is look at how high contrast this girl is. She has a really high definition between the color and the background white on the snake. Pretty amazing. I haven't really seen an albino that's kept this high contrast into age really like this girl. She's really awesome. Really stunning example of an albino. Alright, so take a look at this beast of a snake. This is Poplar. We named this one Poplar. This is a female lemon blast. Look at how big this one is. This is 10 years old, about 4,000 grams. I actually tried to breed her last year, and she didn't lay any eggs and fasted for most of the year, and just recently she came back on food, started eating the rats again. So this girl's definitely not going to lay. I'm thinking about in about 2 months I'm going to start pairing up these snakes. So I've been pretty much increasing the feeding frequency, trying to get them back in condition. And since she didn't lay last year, she's got some really good body condition. I'm thinking of maybe pairing this one up to maybe my bamboo lesser, which would be pretty awesome. Then I get half bamboos and half lessers, and this actually has the pastel and the pinstripe in it. And kind of the interesting thing about this one is it actually has I think it's a different locality of ball python. Look at how big the head is on this one. Super big head for a ball python. Kind of crazy. It's like it's got the giant gene or something in there. Pretty amazing. Look at how big that snake is. Probably the biggest ball python. One of the biggest ones I've ever seen. Alright, so take a look at this one. This is Zeus. Zeus is a female, 100% het caramel albino. This is definitely the biggest snake in my collection. I tried to breed her last year and she didn't lay any eggs, and she just went back on food. She's been eating every single week. As a matter of fact, last week she ate 2 big rats. She's coming in at 5,040 grams. She is a monster snake. I can't even believe how big she is. And kind of the interesting thing is I've never really proved out the 100% het caramel albino. I bought this over on Morphmarket. I was looking for like the biggest ball python I could find. Look at how big she is. She's so massive. I've never seen ball pythons this big, and I actually picked them up. Like kind of the biggest, oldest breeders when I first started. You pretty much can't even find snakes like this that are big females, really super giant. And I don't know if she's going to get any bigger than this, but this is pretty much one of the biggest ball pythons that I have ever seen. All right, so here is Bubble crawling off the table. Bubble is another 8-year-old ball python. She's coming in at 2,500 grams. It's amazing how varied the weights can be from one to the other, and it really depends on how much they eat. Sometimes if they fast a long time. This one has been consistently laying eggs every single year too, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. You know, you get more eggs and more hatchlings if they lay every year, but sometimes they can kind of lag behind just because, you know, they're fasting for like 6 months, and then you have to kind of feed them for 6 months to go through all the breeding cycles. So this girl just laid eggs, and she's already eaten 5 rodents, kind of coming back up to size. I think I'll be able to breed her again. sometimes on these females it would almost be better to give her a couple years off and really gain a lot more weight so I could get a bigger clutch size, but you can still breed them every year. It just takes a little bit longer to get them to like 5,000 grams. Pretty awesome. This is just a straight pinstripe with no other genes in the mix. Pretty awesome. All right, so take a look at this one. This one's also 8 years old. This girl's name is Nugget, and look at how beautiful Nugget is. Nugget, as a matter of fact, I actually sold Nugget, and then the guy backed out right at the last minute, and Nugget is actually back up for sale, but I'm thinking of maybe breeding this girl. Pretty awesome. This is actually a jungle woma spider. It's the spider with the jungle woma gene, which really reduces the pattern of the spider on top. Not a lot of jungle womas out there. It's a pretty rare gene. It's kind of interesting. You can actually make a super jungle woma with 2 copies of the jungle woma. It almost brings it to almost like a kind of a chopped up blade look on top, which is, it's actually called a ridgeback, the super jungle woma. Pretty awesome gene and a pretty awesome snake. And this girl, she's coming in at 2,400 grams, and she was off of food for a long time. And the problem with this one is she was a mouser, so she's kind of would only eat mice, and then she was real picky. And recently she's been on live rats, which is pretty cool. Trying to finally get her over to rats. She ate 1 rat that was frozen thawed once in her life since I've had her. I've had her for a few years, but I'm thinking she's almost getting enough body condition now that I could probably try to breed her. Pretty awesome snake. As a matter of fact, I might breed my banana, maybe my banana enchi to this one to make some spider banana enchi jungle woma combinations, which would be really awesome. Alright, so here's the last one I wanted to show you. This girl's name is Bugs, and the Bugs is just a straight pastel. She actually laid a really big clutch of eggs this year, and they all hatched. She had some really good odds on that clutch of eggs, and she's actually back on food. She's been eating every single week the last 4 weeks, and it looks like if I could keep her on the food, it looks like within another 2 months I may be able to breed her again, which is pretty awesome. And it's pretty amazing how kind of browned out this is. This is actually a pastel. You almost can't even tell that this is a pastel from the brown color. Pretty amazing how brown it out is. As you can see, just a little bit right on the side of the kind of the pastel color just on the side, and then on the top it's pretty much, you can tell it's pastel from the jumbled up pattern. A little bit of yellow, but I'd say this is almost as brown as a normal, which is pretty amazing. Alright, so just for comparison, I wanted to show you Bobby here. Bobby is, believe it or not, he's only coming in at about 2,600 grams, so about half of my biggest ball python. It's pretty amazing. My biggest one is twice the size as Bobby, and Bobby is 7 years old, so he's pretty big for a male, but definitely not even close to my biggest female. That is pretty crazy. I just kind of wanted to show you Bobby on kind of the same kind of a perspective as the other one, so you can kind of see how big he is just right here on the table. He is a pretty awesome snake. Definitely not as big as some of those big monster females I have. Alright, so there you have it. Those are my oldest ball pythons. Pretty amazing, especially that female coming in at 5,000 grams. That's pretty crazy. As a matter of fact, a couple years ago, right before she laid eggs, she was coming in about 4,800 grams, something like that. And I think having the last year off where she didn't lay eggs was kind of a bummer she didn't lay. But let me tell you, that can really boost their size for future years. It seems like, you know, now she's at 5,000 grams, and by the time I pair up, she may be at 5,500. And by the time she develops eggs and really builds them inside her belly, I bet she could probably be maybe close to 6,000 grams by the time she's ready to lay eggs in the spring, which would be pretty awesome. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.